This is Story Recapped. Today, I'm going to explain a drama, horror, and mystery film called The Resident. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. Somewhere in New York, a surgeon, Dr. Juliet Devereaux, is on her morning jog. In the emergency room, Juliet handles a patient who needs heart surgery. She's successful with the procedure. Later that night, Juliet sits alone in a hotel room, crying. She turns off the lights in the television and goes to sleep with a heavy heart. In the bustling streets of Brooklyn, Juliet looks for an apartment. Upon seeing an ad for a studio apartment, she visits the place with a realtor. It has a Murphy bed and a subpar view, leaving Juliet uninterested. Later, Juliet finds herself in a relatively old building. She enters an under-construction apartment and talks to the owner, Max. Juliet assumes that she can't afford the place, but Max quickly tells her that the rent is cheap, utilities are separate, and Max is currently renovating the building. This won't disturb Juliet since she is a doctor, so she doesn't get much sleep anyways. The subway passes underneath, which causes light shaking. Despite this, Juliet is in love with the place. Max hands the keys even before receiving Juliet's documents. On another day, Juliet moves in her belongings with Max's help. As they bring in a mattress, August. Max's grandfather surprises Juliet. He apologizes for scaring her, and they shake hands. Then he and Max share a sinister stare. Night arrives, and Juliet relaxes in her bathtub. The steam on the glass covers her up as she changes clothes. In front of the mirror, Juliet applies some lotion all over her body. Suddenly, she hears a soft moan, but it gets covered up by the shaking from the subway. In the middle of the night, a creaking sound wakes Juliet. She inspects and sees her door slightly open. Juliet disregards this and goes on to lock her door. In the living room, Juliet opens the light but sees nothing out of place. She returns to sleep, and a person's silhouette is seen inside. The following day, after her morning jog, Juliet sees a welcome package in front of her front door. At the end of the corridor, August watches her. At work, a colleague named Sydney invites Juliet on a night out. Juliet would rather sleep, so she refuses. A notification pops up on Juliet's phone. It's her ex, Jack, asking why she isn't returning his calls. He cheated on Juliet, and this makes her feel unworthy of love. Sydney tries to cheer her up and remind Juliet of her worth. Juliet gave up her dream and moved to New York for Jack. Now, she's stuck in a city without a love life and a career she's passionate about. With this, Sydney convinces Juliet to come with her tonight. In the apartment building, Juliet encounters Max. She thanks Max for the welcome gift, but he isn't the one who gave it. Juliet then visits August to thank him. August oddly asks if it's difficult for Juliet to live in a place with strangers. He then shares something about his loneliness, prompting Juliet to leave. At an art show, Max bumps into Juliet and Sydney. Juliet introduces them to each other, and Sydney's smile can't leave her face. She invites Max for a drink, but he's about to leave. Sydney pushes the idea of Juliet and Max dating. Juliet thinks it's a bad idea since he's her landlord, but Sydney wants Juliet to give it a shot. So, Juliet asks Max to walk her home. On their way home, the two talk about August. He had a stroke, and ever since then, he hasn't been able to help Max maintain the building. Their conversation shifts to family. Max's parents died when he was young, and Juliet's parents are divorced. Juliet says that she never really found a home until she met Jack. As they walk, they get more comfortable with each other. They stop and sit on a bench overlooking the city. They end the conversation with laughs and a stronger bond. As they near the building, Jack is seen in the distance watching over them. Juliet thanks Max for accompanying her and kisses him on the cheek. She aims for the lips, but Max doesn't reciprocate. Feeling embarrassed, Juliet hurries inside. Later, in a dark passageway, someone looks into an opening that can see Juliet's apartment. It's revealed that Juliet's bathroom mirror is a two-way mirror. Juliet submerges in the bathtub but gets interrupted by her wine glass breaking. She covers the spillage and herself up with a towel. The next day at work, Juliet shares her awkward moment. Sydney jokes about it to ease Juliet's worries. As she leaves, Juliet answers a call from Jack. He apologizes and asks to see her. Juliet hangs up and she gets another call, but this time it's from Max. He apologizes for what happened and invites her to dinner. During dinner, Juliet and Max talk about how much technology invades a person's privacy. Juliet then shares how the building is starting to feel like home to her. She attributes that change to Max, and he can't help but smile. Juliet asks why a man like Max isn't married yet. He replies that he isn't very social and he's too busy taking care of the building. They then talk about the kiss that almost happened. After a while, Juliet invites Max in to make up for not kissing her. They share a passionate kiss, and much more. Weeks ago, on the day that Juliet performed heart surgery, Max was in the emergency room, and she caught his eyes. He came in with his grandfather for a checkup, but he had other plans when he saw Juliet. On the bulletin board, Max saw Juliet's apartment wanted poster. He planned everything, from luring Juliet into his building to following her into an art show. The night they almost kissed, Max went home feeling uneasy and disturbed. In his hands were keys to a passageway. This passageway has openings Max used to watch Juliet and a secret entrance leading into her home. In the present, Max is getting what he wants. However, Juliet asks him to stop. Jack is still on her mind, and she thinks that's unfair to Max. Max stops and leaves abruptly. Later, Max puts up a barricade on his passageway. He shouts and bangs his head against the plank. Morning comes, and Max prepares August's pain medication. August reminisces about Max's father, whom Max inherited his twisted mind from. August then slaps Max. Max stalks Juliet again, and he follows her to a coffee shop. They talk about what happened the night before, and Max proposes to stop their relationship because it isn't appropriate. Juliet is happy to hear this and agrees. However, it's seen in Max's face that he doesn't want to stop. Juliet leaves, and Max glares at her intently. At the building, Max remembers his family. His father killed his mother, and then killed himself. With the chance for a relationship gone, Max removes the barricade. Night arrives, and Juliet is sleeping soundly. Unbeknownst to her, Max sits in her room, staring at her exposed skin. Max begins touching her, and with his lips inches away from hers, Juliet moves. He leaves just as she wakes up. Juliet looks around her apartment as she senses something weird. With a bread knife in hand, Juliet enters the room and touches a wall. The wall collapses, but Max and the passageway aren't located there. The next day, Juliet calls Max to inspect the hidden wine closet. He offers to fix the room while she's away at work. Juliet kisses him on the cheek and thanks him for being such a good friend. Hearing the word friend depresses Max. After fixing the wall, Max overstays his welcome. He brushes his teeth with Juliet's toothbrush. While at work, Juliet receives a message from Jack that says he misses her. Max enters Juliet's bathtub, unbuttons his pants, and initiates an act of self-love. Later, Juliet returns home with groceries. Max helps her bring them in, and he assumes that Juliet plans to cook. He offers to stay and help, but she denies him. Feeling heartbroken, Max reminds Juliet that she made the first move. He doesn't understand why Juliet is acting like nothing happened. Juliet explains that she just tested if they were going to work, and in the end, she realized that they wouldn't. Max leaves feeling betrayed. In the passageway, Max watches Juliet cooking dinner. A phone rings, and Juliet answers. It's Jack, and he's on his way. While she gets dressed, Max enters the kitchen to snoop around. He sees that the phone call was from Jack. Suddenly, Jack arrives with his dog. While the two catch up, the dog starts barking. The dog sees Max, but the couple ignores it. Juliet confesses that she had an intimate moment with Max. Max hears Juliet say that their relationship meant nothing to her. Jack says that his life isn't the same without her, pushing Juliet to kiss him. A jealous Max watches them. In the bedroom, as they get intimate, Max watches in the two-way mirror. With every kiss and touch, Max wishes that he was in Jack's place. The lovemaking is finished, and Jack has to leave for work. Meanwhile, in the kitchen, Max spikes Juliet's wine with August's pain medication. Juliet then pours a glass and drinks it. While she's knocked out, Max gets up from under the bed. He makes Juliet's hand touch his face, and he begins licking it. A blaring alarm in the sun's bright shine wake Juliet. She's late for work, and she feels groggy. It's been a few weeks since Max has started drugging Juliet. She's overslept 3 times, and her suspicion grows because she never oversleeps. Juliet thinks something weird is happening in her apartment. Sydney suggests that she should get a louder alarm. Juliet gets security cameras instead. The technician explains how they work and tells her that there aren't enough cameras to cover the kitchen and bathroom. He installs the software on the computer and leaves. In August's room, Max gets the pain medication and wakes up his grandfather. He then injects the drug into August's neck. His grandfather convulses, and Max feels no remorse as he watches him die. Juliet and Jack are in a restaurant eating and laughing, and Max is outside stalking them. Juliet rides a cab and separates from Jack. On his way home, Jack climbs a staircase. Max meets him at the top and pushes him. He's injured and disoriented, and Max leaves him just like that. 2 new recordings await Juliet on the computer, but she only sees herself enter through the front door. Later that night, Juliet enjoys some wine. At the same time, Max waits for the chance to drug her. After a while, Juliet is fast asleep, completely unaware that Max is unbuttoning her shirt. Max caresses her hair and face. He holds her hands and kisses her gently. Max hugs her, but suddenly, Juliet's eyes open. Max then injects the drug into her toe, pushing Juliet into a deep sleep. Max is emotional because the only way he can experience a woman's touch is through inhumane ways. Juliet overslept again. As she calls the hospital, a syringe cap catches her eye. Juliet picks this up and heads straight to work, ignoring the new recordings from her cameras. At the hospital, Juliet extracts some of her urine and blood to get them tested. Somewhere in the city, a bruised Jack texts Juliet. They plan to have dinner again. As he enters Juliet's apartment building, Max lies on Juliet's bed while caressing her clothes. He then hears Jack come in. In the kitchen, Jack drops off some groceries. He enters the wine cellar and sees the door to Max's passageway. He inspects it further, unaware that Max is behind him. Max then rushes at Jack. Meanwhile, Juliet reads a toxicology report from her fluids. The document shows that her blood and urine have high levels of Demerol and other pain medications. Juliet rushes down the busy streets and calls Jack to warn him not to enter her apartment. However, she can't reach him. Finally, Juliet arrives home. She looks for Jack in every room, but to no avail. Then, Juliet sees the notification on her computer. She views the recordings, and there she sees what Max did to her. Juliet is speechless, and tears run down her face. Suddenly, Max knocks on the door and enters. Juliet turns off the computer and hides her face. He offers her some of the wine and invites her to sit. Max proposes a toast to their friendship, and Juliet touches wine glasses with the man who violated her. She refuses to drink, and Max notices this. Juliet explains that she's just exhausted and leaves to get her phone. Max approaches and asks why she's calling Jack. Juliet wants to know where Jack is, but Max won't tell her. He forces her to sit down, and he tries to calm her down. Max reaches for a syringe and sticks it into Juliet's leg. Juliet returns the favor by stabbing him in the shoulder. She tries to run, but gets overpowered. Max throws her around, and they fight to reach a knife. Juliet gets on top to stab him, but misses. As Max escapes to the wine cellar, Juliet slashes his forearm. Juliet barricades the cellar and heads to the door, only to find it locked by Max. Juliet has her phone, but can't reach the police. She then consumes a handful of pills found in her medicine cabinet. Her phone rings, but no one responds when she answers it. Behind her is Max, and he throws Juliet onto the bed. They look at each other, eye to eye, and Juliet smiles. Then, she knees him in his nuts and escapes into the bathroom. She locks herself in, and she's slowly feeling the effects of the drugs. Juliet walks in front of the mirror to check her eyes. Suddenly, the glass shatters, and Max pulls her into the passageway. Juliet stabs him again and runs, with Max right behind her. She hides behind some tubing. Then, Juliet hides under the stairs and Max is above her. He doesn't notice her, giving her a chance to find some tools. She grabs a nail gun and heads to her kitchen. In the bathroom, Juliet looks for Max. She goes into the passageway, and after a few steps, Max attacks her. Juliet falls to the floor and drops the nail gun. Max thought that Juliet could have been the one that stopped his twisted ways. He apologizes, and as he's about to kill her, Juliet shoots him with the nail gun. He lies there, punctured, while Juliet finds a way to escape. Max tries to pull her but gets kicked. Finally, Juliet reaches the other end, and as she nears her escape, a trap catches her foot. Max tries to force the hatch open, so Juliet hits him with a wrench before locking the hatch. Then she tries to open the door but gets knocked down. A tarp falls with her, revealing Jack's corpse. Max opens the hatch, but Juliet's gone. She then appears within the shadows, and Max gets a hold of her before she can shoot. To end the struggle, Juliet shoots Max with the nail gun repeatedly, then another time in the chest for good measure. Max is still alive, so Juliet shoots him in the forehead. At long last, Max's unhealthy obsession and miserable life have come to an end, and in defiance of the Hippocratic Oath, Juliet did a lot of harm to escape her crazed landlord.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this. Turn on notifications. And leave a like, it really helps the channel out. Thank you for watching.